What's up, everybody, and welcome to Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. I'm joined by Polish Peter. He's the co-host of the Lifeonaire Show. And on this show, in case you weren't aware, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. And I'll tell you, man, speaking of lives and businesses they love, one of those things that's really important to having that is having the time to enjoy life, right?
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Well, you just wait around into it. Then. So I'm like, well, all right, let's go. This is going to be good. All right.
So listen, here's the thing. You can make all the money in the world you want. And if you have no time to spend it, it's useless, right? Or if you are working all the time and your hair is on fire because you're constantly thinking about work, you are worried about work, you're stressed out about work, like all that. I mean, what's the point, right? And so one of the biggest things in Lifeonaire that we're really helping people focus on is controlling their schedule and controlling their time. Because, you know, oftentimes at our Get a Life Getaway, it's a 3-day event. It's live. If you haven't been yet, you got to join us. One of the exercises we do is we have people create their own ideal calendar. And that's actually what we're going to walk through in this episode is we're going to show you how to do this for yourself. Now it's not the same as us having you walking you through it live together, but this is gonna hopefully provide you with a real epiphany as to maybe how you're organizing your life right now, and how can you change this? How can you improve it? How can you make this way more conducive to living the life you want?
So yeah, I want you guys, as you're listening to the episode, and hopefully if you're just listening, possibly tune in to the video portion of it, because we're going to be sharing a screen so you can actually see how it works. But get coachable in this particular episode, meaning you look at your life and see, how does my calendar look like right now? Like, really, how does it look like? Because if you don't get that part, how it looks like right now, it's going to be kind of difficult for you to see where you want to go.
Well, and a couple things. It's a good point, Peter. So we are going to be presenting visuals here. If you are just listening, that's fine. I'll walk you through it. You'll still understand the concepts behind it. And when you go home and sit in front of a piece of paper or in a spreadsheet somewhere, you can create your own calendar. This is just an example. If you want to see what we're doing, head over to our YouTube channel and you'll see the video there. So here, let's start off. Before I actually show you this, what I'm going to do is compare and contrast two different versions of a calendar. One is the average person's calendar, and the other one is a Lifeonaire calendar, and I've chosen to use my calendar as an example. Now, it's nothing more than an example, but one of the key features of the difference here is the average person, as you'll see, kind of spends a lot of time at work, and then life kind of gets the breadcrumbs. Life and everything else important to that person gets what's left over after they're done working, right? Which oftentimes isn't much. We'll talk about that in a moment. On the Lifeonaire calendar, what we do is we put down all of the things we want to do first. All right, we're putting down all of the things we want to do first. Now, I know this may sound ridiculous. This may sound absurd, unrealistic, every other adjective you can think of, but trust me. Let me walk you through this exercise. Let us show you how to do this. And then we'll talk about, the objections that you may have as to this being possible. Okay. So I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. And let's see here. Here we go. Peter, can you see this?
Yep.
All right. So here is a blank calendar. I'm showing a blank calendar of Sunday through Saturday. Now, this is the average person's schedule. They commute into work. The average commute in this country is somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes, depending on where you live. Now, Peter, we've been out in LA and people have almost laughed us out of the room when we told them. Some people have said, I can't even get out of my subdivision in 25 minutes. And so that's the average person.
Yeah, if you remember when we were in LA, we were going to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, and there was traffic on the freeway, like both ways.
It's insane. It's insane. We've been some places are just nuts. Anyway, so you commute into work, you work all day, you commute home, right? And then you decompress. You get home, 6, 7 o'clock at night, whatever, and you decompress until you go to bed. Maybe you plop down on the couch because you're exhausted and have a glass of wine or a beer, or just turn on the television and zone out because you're exhausted from doing something you're not passionate about all day long, which of course is going to suck the life out of you, right? Now, at that point, you go to bed, right? And so that's your day. That's your entire day. Now,
you go to bed.
What's that?
Hopefully you go to bed, because some people still are up till like 2, 1 in the morning.
Or they're trying to go to bed and they're stressed out and they're unhappy and they're miserable and they can't fall asleep, right? And so that's no way to live. All right, so let's does it get any better? Let's look at Tuesday through Friday. Bang. Every day is the same, right? You commute in every day. You work every day, you commute home every day, you decompress and hit the bed. And like, and now, yeah, you're sneaking in little things here and there. Okay. I'm not going to say that you're not doing anything fun, but this is the majority of your calendar. Now, by the way, if you actually have ever looked at the number of hours you have for fun in an average week, it's not a lot if you're following this calendar. And if you actually project that out over a working lifetime, your career, you start working, say at 25 to 65, 40 years, maybe. And actually now, Peter, the average retirement age is getting higher and higher. So we're talking about decades and decades of living like this, like that. I don't want that for anyone. So here we are, we're at Friday, and now we get to go out Friday night, right? We want to go out with the guys or the girls or hang out, go grab a beer or go see a movie or something. But oftentimes what really happens is instead of going out, we go to bed even earlier because we're exhausted from an entire draining week of work, right? And so we're in bed early on Friday, despite our best intentions. Now, what do we have Saturday? Okay, well, Saturday, we're going to sleep in a little bit, right? Because we're exhausted. Now, if maybe that works if you don't have kids. If you have kids, you're getting woken up early again. I can relate. I have two under the age of 3 right now. And so forget about sleeping in.
Elena gets up on you.
Right. You have free time on Saturday though, right? Saturdays, you can do all the free time now, but that isn't exactly true for most people. What do most people do on Saturday?
Well, they catch up on everything that they were supposed to do during the week.
Right. You're doing your errands.
Soccer game or running errands or laundry, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, right? Laundry, cleaning the house, doing the lawn, running the kids around, right? Like all of this stuff. That's your Saturday. And then typically by the end of Saturday, we have Sunday. And what do you do Sunday is you dread going back to work. So yes. I don't know about you, Peter, but this is not exactly the most exciting calendar that I would like to live by.
Right. Here's what just occurred to me, man, is that for those listening, I bet you that a lot of people who are in the corporate world, who went to school, went to colleges and all that kind of stuff, this is typically how their calendar looks like. Yeah. Right? Isn't it interesting how that calendar is almost universal? It just really occurred to me. It's very universal, this calendar. How did that come to be? How is it that my calendar looks pretty much the same way as your calendar? Well, think about that for a second, right?
Well, what's interesting, man, as you say that, we talk a lot in life here about vision, right? And one of the things that we say is if you don't take the time to create your own vision, you're going to kind of default to the world's vision for your life. Mm-hmm. Speaking of vision, does anybody, if you're listening right now, the 8-hour workday did you decide I'm going to work 8 hours a day, or did your employer decide that? And by the way, why did they decide that? I'll tell you. 1914, a guy named Henry Ford decided that the best way to produce automobiles 24/7 was to have 3 shifts, right? We have first, second, third shift, 8-hour shifts apiece. So that adds up to 24 hours. And this was the way to minimize injury, mistakes. This is the best way and most efficient way to make a profit and keep employees happy and run it that way. And so he popularized that model, and here we are over 100 years later, still following it, right? And so this is somebody else's vision for your life. Perfect example.
And by the way, that second shift is the 8 to 5 shift.
Yeah.
The first shift is like from midnight to about 8. And
well, actually,
8 to 5.
Actually, the first shift is like, no, dude, you're wrong. But it's first shift is like 8 to 5. Right. Then it's like 5 to midnight, and then midnight to, I've never
changing the numbers.
Right. But anyway, in any case, that's still somebody else's vision for you. Like, let's look at a different version now. But before we do that, my question to you is this: like, when you have this kind of calendar, how many hours do you have left in the week for the fun stuff you want to do? It's not a lot. I mean, unless you're nocturnal and you're going to do it between the hours of 12 a.m. and like 4, you're limited, severely limited in how you're going to kind of live the life of your vision, right? And so let's look at a different version now.
Well, listen, before we get to the different version, I want to point something out, because a lot of people who are living this calendar, what happens is they have this thing that they want to do, let's say the business, because they ultimately want to spend more time with their family and all that kind of stuff, right? You want to go on vacations and all, and spend time with the kids and do all those kinds of things. Do you see how this calendar actually makes it almost impossible for you to get to that? right? Because the only time you can really do anything is either if you get, vacation time after main work days, or you do stuff in the white places that are left on this calendar. So that's why you have to look at what he's going to be talking about, the new calendar. If you were wondering up to this point, why can't I actually get to where I want to go, get freedom in life, get that financial freedom? It's because part of the reason is this calendar is preventing you from getting there.
Man, well, you actually just reminded me of a couple things. Number one is, for those people like who, let's say you want to get in shape, you want to get healthy, and you're like, I'm going to start going to the gym, but you have this calendar. Like, when are you going to do that? I understand it really is hard. I mean, you get home from work and instead of decompressing, you're going to try to go to the gym. It's like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. You're tired, you're exhausted, you're hungry. You haven't seen your kids all day. Right. Yep. And so I understand that challenge. Conversely, what are you going to do? Wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. and go before you have to go to work? Like, I understand that's hard. That's challenging. And so this is a difficult calendar to succeed with.
Yeah. We've both been there. We've both had this calendar.
Oh yeah,
I had this calendar up in 2007, 8.
And this is not like for me. I went to school for 15 years. Listen, like this is a story for another day. Went to school 15 years, got my very first job, and I realized within the first several weeks that there's no way I could live like this. This life has to be more than just this. And it wasn't even necessarily that I hated my job or that I hated the people or anything like that. It wasn't that at all. It was just that the control of when I could do the things I wanted to do. That was the biggest thing. The freedom, not having freedom, having to ask for time off, having to work. I just had no control over my life, and so that was a big thing for me that led me down the road of entrepreneurship. And you may feel similarly. Now, there is a catch here, because a lot of times we see people go into entrepreneurship and being small business owners, and they're working more than they were before. And that's a whole other issue as well. We can talk about that in the future. That's not the way to set up your business, by the way, and you're doing something wrong. But let's look at a different version of a calendar where we put everything we want to do first, and let's just see what happens. Just play along with us here. Just listen along, watch what we're doing, and don't automatically reject it. Okay, we'll give you the reasons why this is actually a whole lot more possible than you think in a moment. But just play along with us. Yeah.
Suspend your reality for a minute. Don't go into those but. Just stay with it. Look at the calendar. Follow along what he's saying.
Peter, what's your favorite phrase about buts?
You already have one butt. You don't need another one.
Right. Said very well, my friend. All right, so here we go. Blank calendar. Again, we're wiping the slate clean. We're showing a blank calendar. Now, what I'm doing is going to show you my calendar now, this isn't a rigid calendar that I'm adhering to and checking a list of like, okay, it's 14. It's 2 o'clock. I have to do this. Like, that would be awful, right? That just defeats the entire purpose of freedom that I just mentioned to you. What I'm doing though, is trying to see how much time all the things I want to do are going to take up. And you'll see why that's important in a moment. So here we go. We start off the day. For me, I'm spending some time with my family in the morning, right? That's something and by the way, this is a brand new updated calendar. It has changed over the years, but you'll see the contents are different because, like I said earlier, I have 2 kids under 3 that I want to spend time with, right? So I spend some family time with them in the morning. I take quiet time just about every morning as well. This is something really important to me, whether it's praying, thinking, meditating, reading the Bible, those kinds of things. If I don't take quiet time, it has an effect on my entire day. So I take quiet time pretty much every day. Sundays, I don't, and you'll see why in a moment. I do cardio at least 4 days a week because my dad died of a heart attack at 57 years old. I'm not trying to repeat history. One of those days is typically I'll take a hike outside with my little wiener dog named Rusty, who's sitting behind me right now. And his little legs are just huffing and puffing down a 2 or 3 mile hike. And it's a state park. It's awesome. It's beautiful. I love being outside and connecting with nature. And so that's something I do. And sometimes I do this more than 4 days a week, right? Again, I'm just trying to show you, I'm putting in the things I want to do.
Did you ever consider that hiking might not be in Rusty's vision? You're just forcing him to do what you want to do.
Maybe, hey, if he didn't take the time to create his own vision, he's living by my vision, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
So Wednesdays, I typically would do lunch with my wife. This is something that and sometimes it's more than once a week, but at least once a week, I'm catching up with my wife for lunch. I'm also doing lunch with a friend on Friday afternoons. Now, Peter, this one doesn't happen. I'd say maybe half the time because quite frankly, they're busy. And I'll call up my buddies and say, hey man, you want to get lunch? And they're like, oh, I can't, man. This is a really bad week. I said, okay, what about Thursday? No, And it almost doesn't seem to matter where I move this around. Sometimes people are so busy working because they have the calendar we just showed you, right? They're working every day. They sometimes have to work through lunch.
I'm still waiting on that phone call for that lunch.
Well, we could. I guess we could do a Zoom lunch, right? For those listening, I live in North Carolina. Peter lives in Michigan, so it would be a remote lunch. So that's something I want to do, but it doesn't always happen, right? Mm-hmm. So then I go to the gym about 5 days a week. And this again varies, right? 4 or 5 days a week. And I love working out. It's absolutely my favorite thing to do for my body. And plus that, I mean, I have 3 girls, and I mean, what other way can I use to scare off potential suitors other than just get a bunch of muscles, right? I mean, I guess I could go with like guns and tattoos and stuff, but like, let's stick with the muscles for now. Right. And so
is that why you shaved your head to if you look like tougher or something?
Dude, I have actually believe this. I have naturally curly hair, bro. Like, you've never seen it. I have naturally curly hair.
I challenge you to outgrow it.
No.
And listeners, start pouring in the votes to get him to outgrow his hair.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I am not growing that out. My mom was so distraught. She was so distraught when I decided to shave my head. Jason, you have such beautiful hair. Like, that's when you know you need to shave it, right? When your mom says that. So
that's
all right,
how your mom sounds.
Yeah, that's my mom accurate. Yeah, that's my impersonation. So we got the gym, right? All right. So what else is on here? Okay. So remember, we got cardio, lunch, gym, family time, evenings through Wednesday, Thursday nights. I have worship band rehearsal. I play guitar in the worship band at our church. Love it. Love serving and doing that. And Friday night is date night with my wife. And again, even though we have some young kids, we're trying to make this a priority because we realize that, you know, that parent relationship has to be really, really strong if you're going to have a strong family. So that's something that's in here. Now, one of the things that used to be in here was daddy-daughter date night. I also have a 20-year-old who's in college now. So before she went to college, she and I would grab dinner together, or we'd go do something together. And that was a lot of fun. She's at school now, but here's the cool thing. She's about 2.5 hours away from me, and she can call me, Peter, almost any day, not any day, but almost any day, and say, hey, Dad, you want to hang out today? You want to grab lunch or grab dinner or something? And I can drive out there and hang out with her because I've set up my schedule in a way to give me that freedom. So that's been awesome. And that freedom has actually allowed me quite a bit to avoid. Now, I'm not going to say I haven't been blessed, because I've been incredibly blessed, but that freedom and being able to do that kind of stuff with her has avoided a lot of the teen drama that I've heard some other parents having to go through. And so I'm super, super grateful for that. And by the way, Lifeonaire is getting the credit for that, and God, of course. So, all right. So we got family, we got worship band rehearsal, we got date night. What else? Peter, this is, I know where you're just chomping at the bit to chime in here.
Still in there.
Yeah. So
you know
naps, if you can't see the calendar right now, you're listening. I just put a nap every day from about 2 to 3 p.m.
Here's the crazy thing about this is that if you try calling him at that time, he is not going to answer. And I've actually tried that several times, like just for kicks. I would call him like several times in a row. And then one time, I think he shut off the phone on me. But yeah, I mean, he does take a nap. And the other crazy thing is I make fun of him about it. And then I find out there's actual scientific proof that naps are beneficial. I'm like, oh.
You had to eat your words on that one, man.
What are you gonna do? And
it's funny. I mentioned the Get a Life Getaway, these 3-day events we do, and I'll show this calendar, and people are like, "Man, we need to take naps." I'm like, "All right, you're right. You know, we're gonna start bringing pillows and blankets into this event and taking a nap." So so this is something I do. I want to do this, right? I come from a long history of nappers in the Wojo family here. So what else we got on here? Let's see.
That makes sense. He can literally fall asleep in like 20 seconds.
I'll teach you. Don't worry. Family time on Saturday. We'll usually go out to dinner Saturday night. So I put that on there. Got Sunday church. Now, if I'm playing guitar in the worship band, we usually do 2 services. So that's taking up my morning. And then Sunday afternoon is R&R, right? So this is my average calendar. Evenings, I have me time. This is usually me playing guitar, learning new songs for guitar or reading or something fun. And then I just, hit sack somewhere between, 11 and 12 usually. So this is my calendar.
Calendar.
What's that?
Very colorful.
It is very colorful. So, all right. So here we go. What aren't you seeing on here?
Work.
Work. There's no work.
Where
Right?
does this guy work?
When does this guy work? What does he do? Well, dude, I swear, I swear my neighbors think I'm a drug dealer because like I'm always home. They're like, what does this guy do? Like even pre-COVID,
SWAT
man.
teams around your house yet? Like people like still on the car off to next street. They're like, there's a car constantly sitting there.
Dude, I got a shaved head. I'm like a muscular guy. Like they're like, what does this guy do? Like, you know, I know my neighbors are all curious. So, but here's the thing. Listen, where's the work going to go? Well, if you're looking at the screen right now and you're following us along on the calendar, you can see that there's white spots on the calendar that are blank. That's nothing has filled them. And so that's where work is going to go. And what I'll tell you is that on an average week, I have somewhere between 20 and 24 hours left for work. Now, the other thing here is, like I said earlier, this isn't a rigid calendar that I'm adhering to and like a stickler. Like that's not going to be fun for me. And so things move around. You know, maybe I'm going to take a nap earlier. I'm going to work later, whatever. That's not the important part of this. The important part is how many hours you have left for your non-vision elements and how much your vision will take in terms of time to live. Like where you need to know, like, because even if you have a bunch of fun stuff on your vision, but you're having the previous calendar I showed you, you have no time to do it, right? So you have to do it this way. I know it seems backwards. I know it seems insane to think of doing this, but I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why this is 100% possible. Now, I know that if you're a full-time employee right now, this may feel far-fetched, and you have different challenges here that I want to acknowledge, right? And now with that being said, I'll also tell you we've had Lifeonaire students with our help kind of negotiate with their bosses and end up with abbreviated hours or working from home or other kind of freedom things that they've been able to incorporate. Some people want to work, like they love what they do, and they have some restrictions for the calendar. But for those people, I get it. For everyone else that's an entrepreneur, investor, small business owner, I want to show you why this is 100% possible. Because that is kind of the path a lot of Lifeonaires decide to take, is going out on their own. Not everybody. But here's what I want to tell you. Number one, if you've heard of the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, it says 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a very good approximation that basically says the vast, vast majority of your results come from the minority of your efforts, right? And so let's look at this mathematically. Now, my PhD is not in math, so I had to pick easy numbers here. What is 20% of 40 hours? Because 40-hour work week, right? A 40-hour work week is average. 20% of that is 8 hours. So what that is saying, follow me here. 8 hours of your week, 8 hours of your work week accounts for 80% of your results. Let me repeat that. 20%, right? 20% of your 40 hours is 8 hours. So 8 hours a week is giving you 80% of your results. All right. So that's the first thing I want to point out here. The second thing is there was a study done in 2017 that looked at 1,989 office workers in the UK, and they tracked them, and they knew they were being tracked, which actually probably overinflated the number of hours they worked. But essentially what they were trying to do is to see how many real hours of work these people were doing per day on average. And the number that they found was staggering. They found that the average person worked 2 hours and 53 minutes per day. You can look up this study, 2 hours and 53 minutes per day. So let's round up to 3 hours per day. And I'm talking real work, right? Because many of us fool ourselves that we're working when we're really not working. Okay. We're filling time more than anything else. So 3 hours per day on average times 5 days a week is 15 hours per week. Peter, I'd actually, when I hear that number, I realize I can cut down. I'm working too much.
Yeah. But here's the thing. What he's just telling you guys is what happens to a lot of people when they're thinking, well, listen, I'm not a very good time manager. I don't have enough time. All those kinds of reasons why this doesn't work basically get obliterated with this type of a calendar, because guess what? If you have time management issues, right, and now you have a calendar like that, you end up putting boundaries for yourself to be able to be intentional about your work, because now you have to be pretty intentional to put in the work that you want to put in, the 20, 24 hours a day. A week, right? A day, yeah. That would be going back to the other calendar. But right. Listen, my work hours are from 10 to 2. I work like my hair is on fire, like you mentioned. Being very intentional about those hours that I put in there, because outside of that, either it's gym or my kids or something similar to what he's showing on this calendar. So that gives you that intentionality to be able to work during that time and actually take care of most of that, time that it's available to you. And that's when the time management whole idea kind of goes out the window, because when you're intentional, when you have so many hours, you have to put in this time and you got plan of what to do with those hours, all of a sudden you start rocking things out.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I almost think it's not a time management problem. It's a prioritization problem.
Right.
So the other thing here, and by the way, Peter, I feel like I'm a prosecuting attorney presenting a case here to the judge because I have more data.
You're far from that, dude. You're far from that.
Your Honor.
An attorney will be like, I don't know, that will not be working well. But
so
go ahead, sir.
I have 2 more pieces of evidence for you. So we have the Pareto principle. Number 1, we have the study in 2017 I just presented to you. I have 2 other huge pieces of data to support that this is possible. Number 1, it's called Parkinson's law. So this has nothing to do with the awful, awful disease. Parkinson's law says that the supply for something will rise or fall to match the demand. Now, what does this mean? Well, in everyday terms, it means if you have a week to write a term paper, it'll take you the full week. If you have a year to write a term paper, it's going to take you the full year. Now, you're shaking your head along with me right now because you know this is true. Whatever time frame you have to fill something, you'll do it. If you have an 8-hour workday or a 10-hour workday, you will fill it. Not with the most productive activities, but just activity to stay, to meet that demand, to meet the need, to meet the hours, right? Peter,
I do it with my students all the time. I'll say, we put some goals in place, and then I ask him or her, by when are you going to get this done? He's like, well, give me a month. I'm like, well, how about a week? She's like, oh.
Right.
And then they do a week, and all of a sudden, guess what? It gets done in a week.
Dude, it's amazing.
Oh, interesting how that works.
And actually, some of the early data that supported this found that people they were doing a study on food intake actually, and they found that you could take the exact same amount of food and put it on a small plate and a large plate, and the people that had it on the small plate felt fuller. Oh, that's one implication here. So if you're trying to lose weight, put your food on small plates. The other thing here is that they found that if you have a larger plate, you're more likely to eat more food. So it's crazy. We fill that need with whatever's there, right? We feel the desire for something. We feel the activity. It matches whatever you have available. The last thing that I'm going to present to you is anecdotal data. It's observational, and it's something that you have experienced for yourself. And I promise everyone listening right now has done this. Let's say you are getting ready. You have a trip coming up to Hawaii, and you're leaving the first thing Saturday morning. Booyah. That Friday, you get more done than the previous Monday through Thursday. Is this true?
No, that never happens.
Right. It is 100% true, because why? You have a reason to do it. You have a why. What I want to show you with this calendar is you have a built-in why when you create this. Because here's the thing, like if I don't get my work done on any one of these days within the time allotted, I have to give up something. I have to give up my nap. I have to give up the gym. I have to give up family time. I have to give up lunch with my wife. And I don't want to do that, right? And so this is one of the things that not only shows you and gives you reasons to be more productive, but it shows you what's at stake if you don't. So if you don't want to miss that trip to Hawaii, you're going to get everything you need to get done on that Friday. And imagine for a moment that you worked every day like this. And this is where I want to clear up a misconception, by the way, Peter. You know, a lot of people think that Lifeonaires, we're all about, we're lazy. We don't get any work done. We just flop around. I mean,
yeah. I mean, look at your calendar. I most likely do flop around. How do you flop around, by the way?
I don't know. That was the wrong word. That was just.
That came from him, not me.
But listen, Lifeonaires are some of the hardest working people I know. They just do it within very rigidly defined restricted windows so they don't sacrifice their life. They're intentional about it, right? I hope you're seeing the difference as we're talking you through this. And that's the difference. And you can get everything you want to get done within these windows when you're intentional. Hey guys, Wojo. Well, listen, we're going to be right back with the rest of this interview and the rest of the content. But there's one thing I want to tell you about before I forget, because it's so powerful. It's an awesome offer and it's free. And what I'm referring to is we're giving away a copy of the best-selling Lifeonaire book digitally online. You can download it for free. This is a book that has changed thousands and thousands of lives. It's selling like hotcakes, and you can get your own version of this. It's for free. So you'll get a PDF version. Go to lifeonaire.com. You'll see on the main menu, it says free book. Simply enter your information and we will send you the book. This is a story. It's not written like some dry business book. It's a story. It's a parable. And actually, believe it or not, all of the stories in this book are real life stories. They've just been kind of put together. In real life, they occur to different people. We put them together for one cohesive story in this book to make it, flow. People that even aren't readers are saying this is the best book they've ever read, and they're not even readers. They're finished it in a day, in a few nights. This is something you can get through very quickly, and it'll have a profound impact on your life. It's going to hit you upside the head like nothing ever has. It's been compared to books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad in terms of its perspective shifting abilities. It's going to make a huge difference for you. So go ahead, go to lifeonaire.com right now, download your free version of the Lifeonaire book, and you can thank me later. Let's get back to the interview.
Here's another reason why this calendar is so freaking awesome is this. If you look at this calendar, remember in the previous calendar, at the end of the day, you come home and you are drained, right? He put it on there, you have to decompress, like you were compressed in some way. So now you have to decompress. But what that means is you're drained from the energy.
Yeah.
If you look at this particular calendar, is it possible that the things that you love doing, because you put on them the first, like the cardio you put in there, like the quiet time, like the family time, like, date night, gym, naps, those are the things that are designed for you to enjoy, to get you more energized, because you end up being more energized, right? So then when you are going to work, you actually have a lot more energy to do the work. It's pretty awesome, because in those hours when you are working, you're a lot more energized, a lot more focused now, more intentional. And it's a lot of it has to do with what you're doing outside of the work hours to get you energized during those times. I truly believe that.
Man, and that's a great point, because not only are you better and more productive at work, but like you're just overall in a better mood. You enjoy, you're better around your family. Like, have you ever had this happen to you where after a long day of work, you're just so drained, you can't give your family the attention they need, and you're kind of irritable, or you're just short, or you're just quiet, like that, because you have things in your mind, or because you're just exhausted? Like, this is a completely different way of existing and living. And now you project this out instead of the other calendar, project this out 40 or 50 years, or whenever you decide to make this change, and life looks completely different. Different. And now when I make a change in my calendar, it's only to substitute something better, right? I'm always getting better. I'm always improving. And so this calendar for me, and of course, like life happens. So things change. Like, I mentioned my kids and stuff. So that's important to me. So I got rid of some other things that I had in there. Right. But it's a choice that I've made voluntarily. I didn't have to do anything. I got to do that. That's a big difference.
Right. So here's my challenge to you guys. And I think this is coming from both of us, but I'll challenge you guys to go and actually create this kind of calendar for yourself, like suspend the reality for a moment for the next half an hour or whatever it takes you to do this. Suspend the reality and create a calendar that you would love to live by. Ultimately, like, this is the life that I want to have. This is what I want to do. I want to do cardio. I want to do gym, or whatever it is for you, right? I want to flop around. Put that on there, flopping around time. Whatever it is, you put it on that calendar, so you can really see what you ultimately want to do. And then once you do that, pick one thing from that calendar and start incorporating it in your life. Pick one thing. I want you going and start incorporating the entire calendar the next week, right? Because guess what happens, Wojo, if you do that? Oh,
dude, that's a great point. You crash and burn. Dude, do not try to create this dream calendar, this ideal calendar, and try to go all in immediately, right? That is a recipe for disaster.
Right. because we had somebody do that actually, right? And it's, at the end of the week, the work piled up like crazy, and he literally crashed, you know. And now start implementing one thing.
Well, and speaking of that, like, yeah, this guy Peter is talking about was working 60 plus hours a week, and he tried to go to something like this where he's working like, I think it was like 10 or 15, and it just crashed and burned because he didn't put the systems in place. Now, this is a different topic. Like, we teach people how to do this at our business builder workshops so that you can learn how to work in these narrowly defined windows and delegate things and systemize and automate all those kinds of things. So you can learn from us. We'll teach you how to do that, but it all has to start here. Right? This is where it has to start. This is just, this was a game changer for me, man. Like, when I first saw this and was exposed to it, it just flipped everything upside down, because we're so taught that work comes first and life comes second. Lifeonaire, we teach life first, work second, right? The whole,
let me ask you this
versus live to work.
Out of this calendar, what was for you like one of the first things that you picked on here to start implementing?
Well, I was kind of, for me, I was already doing the napping. The
napping. Exactly.
No,
See, you just,
I did say it. Yeah. I was already doing like some of the cardio and gym. Like, the nap for me was one of the biggest things, man. When I didn't have to work for somebody else, getting to take a nap every day, like, that's amazing. Like, it is amazing.
I want the audience to notice that he kind of caught himself. He slipped, and he's saying it was cardio, it was gym, but in actuality, it was nap time.
It was nap time. Man.
No, but that's very cool, man. That's awesome.
Now, and I know for you, one of your favorite things, and one of the reasons why you cut work early in the day is why?
Well, so I could, back in the day, I would be picking up my kids from school.
Yep.
And that was very important for me to go and pick them up. So now that school's kind of changed, right? Because now they're going to different schools, high school and all that kind of stuff. But still, I put that parameter still in place. Yeah. So then I replaced it with something else. Still, some days I go and pick them up. But other days I put something else in place that I really want to do.
Right. So listen, I hope this has been as much of a breakthrough for you, perspective wise, as it has for us. Again, like, really give us some thought and some consideration, because I'm telling you, we see people live this calendar every day. Yes, it doesn't happen overnight. You got to do some changes. You got to make some changes. But it's 100% possible for everybody. So listen, if you've liked the show, we hope you did. Leave us a review, subscribe, tell your friends about it, tell your family about it. The more listeners, the better. The more it helps us help you. Also, if you want to be part of the Lifeonaire community, head on over to the Lifeonaire app. We talk about this every week. This is a great conversation where incredible discussions are going on. Lifeonaires are rubbing shoulders with each other. They're encouraging each other. They're sharing ideas, giving feedback, support. I mean, it's way more positive than regular social media, and you can actually get uplifted than having the life sucked out of you and being attacked, right?
Right.
And so,
share
check it out.
Calendar on there.
Yeah, we can
share it on there.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Well, I'll put my calendar up on there so you can see that if you want. I'm
saying for the audience members, if they want to create a calendar for their future, put it out there, share it with the community.
Oh yeah, it's a great idea. If you want to get feedback on your calendar or have other people share it, put your calendar in the app. We'd love to see it, and we can. Peter and I are in the app. We'll just tag us, and we'll check it out. So we're in there too. Awesome. Well, hey, as always, we are humbled and incredibly grateful for you guys listening. We will see you next time. And until then, go create your own ideal calendar and start living it one step at a time. Become a Lifeonaire. Join us at a Get a Life Getaway if you want us to help with that vision. Business Builder Workshop if you want help with your business. And it will be our honor to walk alongside you in this journey. Take care, everyone.